Boss Rush 540 Day 3. Now I skipped videos for days 1 and 2 because they're basically just reruns of bounties that we've already had. So day 1 was a Shade of Iran fight, which is pretty much the same as level 500 day 5 that we just had. So you can go check out the video that I posted for that if you want to see how to do Shade of Iran using a Malchezaar Balinda comp. And then after that, you just artillery strike everything. You did need a pretty high artillery strike to deal with Cro-Magus here because he has 400 hit points and he cannot be crit. But that one was pretty straightforward, probably the easiest day so far this week. Day 2 was a repeat of the Onyxia fight that we had on, I believe it was 420 day 5. So there is a thread on the subreddit that details all the strategies that were used for that one. If you want to just look up 420 day 5, I believe the thread was titled "Any Better Solution?" ? But basically, you pop Onyxia's immunity with your level 22 Flame Dart, freeze a red ad behind it, and then do some bounces, kill off the reds, and then bring out your Medivh at the end to just clean up your non-artillery strike mercenaries and finish the fight with just Medivh, Genn, and any other artillery mercenary you have in your party alive. And then for the meta, you just use 6-speed abilities with Genn and Birds and Medivh from behind a counter ward, and then that kills it with the Genn passive. And then for the last boss, you end up with an ad left over, so you just need to act at 6 speed behind a counter ward once again there to kill it off. After your artillery strike, you do need 290 artillery strike to take out Garrosh without him getting a divine shield, and is basically a repeat of a previous week that we've had with a little bit of tweaks for dealing with that leftover ad. You do have to have at least a 62 HP counter ward to kill off the kegs summoned by Thaurissan on day 2 for that last ad, or you can just kill it with 2 birds and have your board clogged with kegs if they're strong enough. Around rank 25 or so birds can probably handle that, and higher is obviously better to do it before the turn limit, but I would advise skipping day 2. Now, for day 3, I'm going ahead and making a video because we have not had the first boss for day 3 before, and if you want to see the comps I used for day 1 and 2, here's the day 1 comp, here is the day 2 comp. This is an alternative option where you can use Drekthar to freeze Onyxia. We talked about that a little bit on the Discord. I won't go into detail on it here, though. But for day 3, we are going to start out with Balinda, Bwonsamdi, Medivh, and we're using some pretty standard equipment here. We've got our Water Elemental, Arena Contender, Counter Ward, and then for Malchezaar, I'm using this 3 moves ahead because if you get Ice Storm casts from Ahune, you need this. It seems that when you get him as the last boss, he behaves differently and doesn't cast Ice Storm unless you don't have a counter ward in place, so then you don't actually need this equipment, but you don't need the other equipment either, so we're using it anyway, because that is sort of the standard for an Ahune fight. We're also using the Scout Spyglass at rank 22, so it deals 40 damage. That's to kill off the ice shards on Ahune, so that's helpful to have. It's not a requirement, but you'll need to ramp your health more if you don't have that, to ensure you can finish off Ahune at the very end. And then obviously our healing equipment on Genn is very important, or very useful. If you have a big enough Genn and a big enough Mage Guard, you can guarantee a kill on Ahune without hitting specific treasures. If you don't have those strong enough to just tank the Hail to the Lord ability from Ahune, then you'll need to either hit Bird Buddy. It's also helpful to hit Spell Thread, but it's much better to hit Bird Buddy. Or you can hit Checkmate on Prince Malchezaar, which allows you to use the Bishop summon from that to heal up in between your health buffs. And I can explain that a bit when we get to Ahune. But if these guys are strong enough, your Genn and your Medivh, you can just tank it with the Genn buffs and Genn healing and the health buffs from Mage Guard, and then you don't need to worry about hitting any treasures other than Artillery Strike. So let's go ahead and get into it here. That was a long explanation since I went over the first 2 days, but... So the general idea here is to just absorb the incoming melee attacks with Bwonsamdi, and don't let anybody get killed in the process. And then you do a bounce, and then we will shrink all these greens with Malchezaar. So this is a good roll for me. I don't think we really care about the nature anomaly. So if your Bwonsamdi and your Mage Guard are small enough, then when you buff your Bwonsamdi with Mage Guard on this turn, he'll still be smallest, which means this Apex Predator will just harmlessly hit your Bwonsamdi. Now in my case, my Bwonsamdi and my Mage Guard together are too large, so he becomes bigger than my Medivh. So then my Medivh can be hit by Apex Predator. So for me, I kind of need no attack anomaly on these blues here, which I got, so it's fine. But if you have a small enough Bwonsamdi and Mage Guard, it's actually kind of an advantage for this start of the fight, because it ensures that Apex will just harmlessly hit your Bwonsamdi. Otherwise, just make sure you get a roll where your Medivh's going to survive. I'm just going to put some damage here. We're going to freeze this blue, and it doesn't really matter what the rest of these guys do typically, because you're just going to soak everything with Bwonsamdi. So the pounce hits Bwonsamdi, whatever melee attack this uses hits Bwonsamdi. This usually just kills the Arcane Ward, so we don't really care about it. And then we freeze this blue here that uses a nature ability, so we also don't care what it does. And this is the only turn you really have to kind of think at all, or look for anything with the anomaly. After that, the fight is quite simple. And even though that hit the freeze, it doesn't actually stop it from swinging through and hitting, in my case, Medivh. But we survived, so that means we win the fight. So now we just bring out Malchezaar, we bring out Balinda, and we bring out Medivh. And at the end of this fight, once we clean it all up, we're going to kill off our Balinda, and we're going to kill off our Bwonsamdi. So we'll just have Genn, Rogers, Medivh, and Malchezaar alive. So you want to shrink first, before you swing with your elemental. So in this case, it's going to shrink the Orca here. And then you typically want to ramp every chance you get. And then you want to think a tiny bit here. So usually you're just going to either freeze this or the Orca, depending on what's most beneficial. And you're usually going to end up taunting the Ellie here. You don't counter yourself if he's casting Fish Feast. You do counter yourself if he's summoning a fish on your side of the board. So he just uses those two cookie abilities. So in this case, we're going to not counter here. And then you want to decide if you want to swing at this or at this. You can typically let this 10 speed get off. It doesn't really matter. You just want to make sure your water elemental doesn't die. So in this case, I'm going to let that cast. And I'm just going to swing at this Orca because it'll reduce the damage done to my elemental here. And you may also need to roll for no attack on greens, depending on your health values and Mage Guard and all that. But Malchezaar does start shrinking them very quickly. Okay, so this time, because he's casting Equalizing Strike, we're going to taunt the ward, and we have to counter because he's casting Go Fish instead of the Fish Feast. And we usually just shoot at the fish here. And we're going to freeze that so he doesn't get a Puffer Fisher out. And now, by taunting the ward here, this is going to equalize the 0 attack, so it'll only have 3 attack afterwards. Okay, and then we're going to shrink, we're going to ramp. And from here, once you get everything small enough, you're pretty much just freezing the fish, buffing up HP on whatever you feel like. Once you get everything to a reasonable health value, you can kill off this fish that they've summoned for you on one of the Fish Feast turns and get a bird out as well. I could do that now. I think I will. Oh, he's equalizing again. So I don't want to lose this elemental to an equalizing. So I could just go here again, since he is doing an equalizing. We'll do that. We'll just taunt the ward for equalizing. It matters less later when everything's buffed up a lot. So we'll shrink again. He is just spamming equalizing. And the pounce doesn't matter now that this is small enough. So we'll just keep shooting here. I want to freeze the equalizing this time because he's not trying to cast a Puffer Fisher. And then, because it's a Go Fish turn, we can't get rid of this to make the bird this turn. So I'm just going to buff health on something. We'll do the elemental. Okay, so we'll shrink again, we'll freeze the Puffer Fisher, and I do want to get a bird out. You don't really have to, it's just helpful. Do I want to let him equalize whatever he feels like? Yeah, that should be fine. So if he gets like 76 attack and hits here, we're fine with that. So I'm going to kill this off here. We're going to ramp. And we're going to get a bird. And he's being countered. Okay, so we'll just shrink him back down. Actually, I don't even care. I'm just gonna, this will give me more health here. And then we'll freeze that. Oh wait, we should shrink first. I'm doing stuff out of order. And it doesn't really matter where this damage, you don't even have to shoot with this if you want to ramp more, because we're going to want to kill the, we'll probably kill the blue with all realities, but it depends on how it lines up with the fish ability cast. If it uses pounce instead, it can get in the way of all realities, so you might need to just nuke it down. So the more you ramp with your Balinda, the more you ramp your bird by casting arcane spells with Medivh, the easier time you'll have just nuking that blue down when it comes out. So I'm actually going to not shoot here because we want to ramp a little bit. We want to ramp both our health and the damage on Balinda and the damage on our bird. So we'll shrink, we'll ramp. And whenever this ends up dying to Balinda's AoEs is fine. So this gives me, I guess we'll buff this thing's health a little bit. Don't need to shoot with it. It doesn't help its own ramp. Sorry for the phone noises. Didn't mute my phone. Because I can do that now. Let's see. Don't need to shoot with that. Okay, so he's pouncing this turn. Don't care about headbutt. So I'll just buff some HP on our elemental. Don't need to shoot with that. So now we're just cycling through, continuing to shrink, continuing to ramp Balinda, continuing to act with Medivh to ramp health and buff our bird. And stopping any attacks from fish or orca that we don't want to see. These are all fine. Let's just get some more HP here. Or actually, let's put some HP on Malchezaar. And he's being countered. It's a little bit of a slow fight, but it's very safe and easy. And you can go a bit faster if you're confident with your strength. Like, I could already push here and be perfectly fine. I'm just gonna freeze that. Don't really care about the headbutt. And whenever you do push, you want just one of these to die. So the orc is the best one to kill because it's the only one that damages itself. So you can control these other ones dying. Well, I guess this one damages itself when it pounces, but it usually doesn't damage itself too much. But the Orca will finish itself off eventually unless you keep taunting like a 0 attack. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and push here. And I'm gonna damage the fish. But not kill it. So this will get one of the blues out instead of having to deal with both of them at the same time. And your positioning shouldn't matter. So, do we get to all realities? We do. Or no, yeah, we can, because we can freeze this. So, we all realities, we freeze the fish. This will be countered. And then this apex predator is going to hit our bird and will not kill it, so that's fine. That's why we buffed everything up. And it'll die to the bird. So I'll just buff here, I guess. And then now it's... I could actually just kill the fish too, because we're not worried about preserving it anymore. The only reason to preserve it was so that only one enemy came out here. And that's being countered, so that should be good. Now if you don't get the all realities here, you just nuke this guy down. And freeze whatever you need to. But he should not be a threat with how much time you've had to ramp both your damage and health. And you can take longer to ramp if you want to. And we're just leaving this guy here because he's basically harmless, and he'll just be countered every turn, especially now that he's sped up by the death rattle on the otter. Okay, now we just kill this thing off as quickly as possible. So we'll shoot it with that. Don't need to freeze anything. I could swing for damage, but there's no reason to really. Don't need to counter because he's going at 0. So this is where the Balinda and the bird ramp are more relevant, but you don't need to worry too much because you do have your scaled up water elemental. And just make sure you don't kill off the last guy because you still need to get rid of your Balinda and your Bwonsamdi. Okay, so we'll just shoot here. We don't really need this elemental anymore. We'll just get another bird real quick to make the cleanup go faster. Okay, so Balinda's done. And this doesn't really matter. Soften him up a bit.
You picked the wrong lure to mess
with. Okay, so we just want to kill our Bwonsamdi. I guess we can Binding Contract. That Go Fish doesn't do anything, so I'm not worried about it. And he'll be dead, so we'll just make a bird. Okay, everybody's dead that needs to be dead, so now we've just got to hit Artillery Strike once we finish this guy off. And if you're strong enough with your Genn and your Medivh, you can beat both of the next 2 bosses on Artillery Strike Miss. I have done that this week on 540, but my Genn and Medivh are quite strong, so I'm not sure where the breakpoint to achieve that is. But just using the 3 humans, Rogers, Genn, and Medivh, I was able to beat both Whatley and Dragonbone Golem. So you might get to see that here if I'm unlucky. None of this stuff should really matter. Okay, so these are the good treasures here. Bird Buddy is the best one. This is like a guaranteed win, even if you have weaker mercenaries. As long as you got a decent level on this, this is a win condition. Spellthread Cloak is the next best. That's also a helpful boost to Ahune if you're not doing Bird Buddy stuff. But Bird Buddy is the best choice here. And it's also good as a win condition if you don't hit Artillery Strike. So I guess we'll get to see how strong my Genn is. And I don't think positioning really matters here. Because they just do like Turnabout Strike and Lightning Bolt. How big was... Okay, we got a pretty low nature roll, which is good. These guys aren't too strong. Oh, and he's even taunting turn 1, which makes it easier. It's hardest when they both turn about on 1. But my Genn is strong enough that I can just taunt my Genn, and he can eat all these hits. So actually that's being countered. I can swing with Rogers, but I don't need to. And I think shooting this guy is best. I could make a Bird Buddy. So the Arcane Ward is actually not important. So if this turnabouts any of my characters, do I care? No, I'm just gonna make this. And then that will go afterwards. This is not even, so we don't care about it. Okay, so we got 1 lightning bolt for 78. So I believe I can taunt here. How many melee attacks are coming in? Just 2 from the big guys though. So I'm going to heal my Medivh, taunt here, and then a lot of times you'll get these weak guys that just got summoned that have taunt. This guy's using taunt, so we can swing at that. And we need to counter. So that should work. So you can see how insane the stat scaling with a Genn summon and Genn heal this big are. Okay. 2 lightning bolts and 1 turnabout strike. So we probably want to just do this. That'll kill that. This will actually survive. And I kind of want to get rid of this ward, but don't have a great way to do it. My guys are too strong. I guess we just do this for an even speed. I think it gives a proc. And I don't really care where their attacks go. Oh, it actually, I don't think that activated, but I think the bird summon activates as an even speed, so it's kind of strange. Even when the board's full. Because it at least activates the Genn heal, because I know we've done that on the Medivh fight. So I'm not sure about that. Okay, what do we got here? 2 melees from the big guys. Probably want that. I'm gonna taunt this ward because I just don't want it anymore. When I did this before without Bird Buddy, I was mostly just taunting my Genn repeatedly and having him tank everything with his self-healing. And then if my other guys got bigger than Genn, I would sometimes taunt them to tank for a round until I got rid of these big guys. Okay, so just one melee attack. So we'll do that again. She's getting quite large.
Job's done.
Okay, there's one of the big guys down. Once the two large attackers are gone, this fight's very quick and easy. Okay, so this guy's melee attacking. At this stage, we can just get more Bird Buddy. I could also transform again if I want to. Rogers is quite large. Okay, so this is... fight's over now. I guess that was wasted damage because Rogers one-shotted that guy. And I suppose I might as well transform Genn now because I don't have board space anyway, and swing here first. I want to see if this bird summon procs Bird Buddy. I should have swung with the small one first. I forgot about that taunt. Let's see. Does this proc Bird Buddy? It does. So the Bird Buddy summon doesn't proc Bird Buddy if your board's full, but the bird summon procs Bird Buddy. That's weird, but okay. Alright, so 800 damage Moonlight Strike. I guess we'll put that there. And we'll kill this with this guy. And I think everything's just Omega dead now.
This one's mine.
Alright, let's hit an artillery strike and not have to suffer through another... I mean, it's not that slow with the Bird Buddies, but... Oh, come on. I guess this is good because of the green ad on the next guy. Man, we just have to fight everything. This is ramp. I don't even care about taking less damage, so we'll just take the ramp. So same deal. You should just artillery strike this, but if you're unlucky and you're strong enough, so it's kind of same deal. You just taunt your Genn most of the time, and then you ramp when you can. And you want to get rid of these big attackers, just like the last boss. So once the green ad and the red ad, or the buffed red ad, are dead, the fight's very simple and easy. Shrinking that guy with this equipment was quite nice. So I could swing with Rogers right away. Do I want to do that? I could also do this right away. You have to keep in mind when you use this, it changes any taunt Beastly Beauties you have on the board. They lose their taunt because it actually turns them into the other Genn summon. We also could try getting Bird Buddy out here. I think we have to wait on that though, because there's too much incoming damage. I think we can swing, and I think I want to heal Genn after he takes this hit at 4 speed instead of trying to buff Rogers. And we have to do this. So the turn 1 is obviously the most sketchy, because you don't have a lot of health buffs. Okay, so now we just have to make sure we don't nuke ourselves here, but we were going to summon anyway, so we don't really care. You also can let them be countered, but it's usually not good to. We can choose to taunt like our ward at some point, because this ward's not really particularly useful. I am going to self-heal, or I could heal Genn. Probably actually don't need health aside from the Genn proc on Rogers. And then I think we still have to control where the hits go, so I'm gonna do this.
Job's done.
Let's see, so this one would hit our 140. Oh, we don't have to control it. Okay, so because my summon is big enough, it's gonna tank this hit first, and then this will also hit the summon. So that means I can get out either a bird buddy or a bird. I'm gonna do bird buddy since we have bird buddy. And we're doing that after. I'm gonna switch this to firing position so it activates bird buddy. After the bird buddy's summoned. And we want to do this after the bird buddy's summoned as well. I could have done it the opposite order so that it put the bird buddy buff on that summon, but I like this way better. Okay, so I can swing with Rogers. It's probably good. Don't think there's enough incoming damage to worry about that. Can also buff her. That'll go off first, so it's fine. We don't have to change the order. Then I'm going to taunt Genn and swing with this guy here. So that Everywhere Worgen is actually quite strong when you're pairing it with Rogers or Edwin. It adds a lot of attack if you have the time to ramp it and you have enough defense to not die. Usually you have to take turns off to like self-heal like this in between. But in this case I don't even have to do that. Guess we just do this. Don't want to think about optimizing too much here. Just get the turns over, because we're doing so much damage. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and heal. And we'll buff, swing. Yeah, she didn't act last turn. I guess just get an even speed. And you'll see this did lose the taunt. Because we used the Worgen ability, but at this point I'm so scaled it doesn't matter. I guess there's no way to get an even speed here, because this is going to get buffed by that. Yeah, it would get too big anyway. So I might as well just get some health there on Rogers. So this run's obviously taking longer than it should, because these should have just been 2-second artillery fights, but it is what it is. I guess this guy will die. Let's make a new one. Or he'll probably die. Too lazy to see how many buffs he would get. Oh, he didn't die. Okay, well. That's the fight anyway. Okay, so I don't want to try to fight this last boss with no artillery strike. So please just give me an artillery strike now. Alright, so this one's not any use anymore. This one's actually dangerous for your Rogers because you usually don't have enough to take double hits. So I guess we'll just switch it to this. I don't know if I can beat this fight without artillery, because it's supposed to clear Garr in the ads. Okay, so that's a pretty low frost roll, that's good. That's a high fire. I don't know how bad that is. But we're gonna run with the same team. I've never done this before. I have killed Ahune without clearing the shards before, but not with Garr. He is kind of small. So we can counter the rock out, that's good. I need to get rid of these shards. Oh, there's so much incoming damage though. And especially since we're red. Highest attack is going to be Rogers. I think they're smart enough to focus the Rogers. I think I need this if we're going to have any hope. I don't even want to think about getting something frostbited if that messes me up. It actually will mess me up, because it'll make things switch between even and odd, so I would rather not Genn be hit by this. But I don't know how much choice we have. I think killing the shards first is best. I probably can't swing with Rogers, but I might need to buff her. I could swing on Garr to start ramping her damage, or swing. I don't think I can swing at these. Rogers is probably going to die. Is it better to swing with her and let her die? I think we just do this. You shouldn't have to worry about this stuff though. Okay. He's trying to cold snap me. And if we act before 6, we should be okay. So we probably need the health ramp. Now we lost an even ability. So we can heal with this or with this. This goes 115, the 6 feet goes 130. So I guess we just maximize healing. And then probably heal here as well. Now that's gonna, if I do that, this speeds him up, and this bird would summon before this, which I don't want. So maybe we do this instead. And then swing here, and we're gonna have to counter. Okay, we lost our ward. I think that's okay. We lost our Medivh. It might be okay as well. Now, I have to land the realities before Malchezaar dies, otherwise I don't care about Malchezaar. So I can land the realities on Ahune. We can still win. We just used this, so I can't do it. Maybe I shouldn't use that. I wasn't thinking about that. Okay, so if I swing here, I prevent that icicle. I don't think I can prevent the frostbite, which does more damage. Oh, I can't get a taunt either. I think I'm gonna lose my Malchezaar. Yeah, because this guy, I think, does too much damage. Well, I can try to heal him so I have the Demon Fire. And then I guess I swing at that just to get rid of it. Yeah, we lost our Malchezaar, so now we'd have to fight this the long way. Alright. It was like kind of close. I think if I had the best ability RNG, maybe it was possible. But you just need Artillery Strike. Alright, I'm gonna cut it there. And I may re-record the Ahune fight, but it's very similar to previous Ahune fight that we had, which was the 500 day one. So if you go to my first clear 500 video, there's a pinned comment underneath it that describes all the different ways that you can beat the Ahune fight when he has this behavior where he doesn't like to cast Ice Storm from behind a counter ward. The easiest one, if you have a strong enough Genn and Medivh, is actually not listed there. It's in a comment on the subreddit, which let me find it real quickly. It was from HenchClan Bruiser, mentioned that, and I did this on my very first run, so you can kind of see how it plays, but I didn't understand in that video how to force him to cast the Ice Storm. So I spent a long time in that video trying to figure out how to make him Ice Storm. But it turns out that if you just wait until you have your Genn summon available and he's casting the Hail to the Lord ability, you can buff your Genn with your Mage Guard and summon a Genn summon and counter your own counter ward on the Hail to the Lord turn. And then that Hail to the Lord will hit your Genn. And then the next time you Mage Guard your Medivh and cast another Genn summon on a Hail to the Lord turn. And then you do your All Realities on that turn. So you start out with Malchezaar, Medivh, and Genn. And then once he gets All Realities done, the next Hail to the Lord cast, you just keep summoning with Genn and casting Mage Guard, and then you can swing with your Malchezaar to kill him off with his first attack. And then Ahune's already at 5 HP. Then you bring your Rogers out from the bench, and you just keep buffing up with Mage Guard and the Genn summon. So there's a requirement that you do enough stat gain with your Mage Guard, your Genn summon, and your Genn heal that you can outpace that incoming frost damage from Ahune. But once you've got those mercenaries buffed up enough, if you can outpace that incoming damage, then you just need enough hit points to survive 3 frost attacks from Ahune, because you're going to have to kill your Arcane Ward off to make him cast the Ice Shard summon, and you're going to take a Hail to the Lord that turn, you're going to take the Ice Shard summon the next turn, and then he can cast the Ice Shard summon again, even though there's already Ice Shards in play. So you need to be able to tank all 3 of those hits, and then AoE the board with Roger's third equipment, and that should handle the Ahune fight. If you don't have that, your alternatives are to do Bird Buddy and get your health scaling that way, or you can use Checkmate from Malchezaar, where you position Malchezaar to the left of your Rogers, and you start with Medivh, Malchezaar, Rogers, and you just summon a bishop with the Checkmate ability on that first Hail to the Lord turn. So the Hail to the Lord should hit your Rogers, you get a bishop in play, and then you cast a Mage Guard on your Rogers that same turn and counter yourself. And then you just pass turns to let that bishop heal from the Checkmate treasure, heal your Rogers back up, and then you repeat that until your Rogers is big enough to tank those 3 frost hits, kill off your Mage Ward, or your Counter Ward, and then use your Rogers with that third equipment to wipe out the Ice Shards. So it's a little bit of a longer process, but it's another win condition if you don't have those Genn stats. Then there's also 2 additional options, which are to bring Queen Ishara, which reduces your artillery strike odds, so you'd have to cut a mercenary. With her third equipment, can kill Ahune when he has the 5 hit points left. It steals his stats and finishes him off without having to worry about all that stat buffing. And then you can also do it with negative stat treasures, but those aren't really as good of an option. So all that's described in the pinned comment under that 500 first clear, so you can go check that video out if you want to see in-depth description and also some video examples of how those are all played. Good luck on your run.